So today we are exclusively focusing on classification of dryers, and these are some examples: static bed, moving bed, fluidized, vacuum, and pneumatic. So while working on this particular topic, or just to get well acquaintance with all these dryers, we will maintain one flow so that your understanding about all these dryers based on whatever terminologies we have seen in previous session, that will become more clear. So first of all, we will talk about principle of all these dryers. So I just write some pointers as a principle of all these dryers, whatever we have to discuss. Then we will see the construction part, exactly what is assembly and in what way it is molded and giving job as a dryer equipment. Then third pointer that we will take for discussion, that is about working of all these dryers, in what way it will work, then advantages and disadvantages, or maybe one more point we will add over here for discussion purpose as pharmaceutical applications. Clear? So whatever classification we have mentioned, so all these dryers in this 1 to 5 that we will study based on these pointers. And in examination also, if you study this particular chapter in a very systematic manner by plotting all these pointers on a one in a one tabular format, so obviously your understanding will be more. So during examination you can just refer the particular table or maybe whatever the notes you have maintained for this particular chapter. So what we can do, these are the name of the equipments, and we will see all these equipments. Maybe for example, we will pick up tray dryer first. Then we will see what is the principle of tray dryer, then overall construction, then their working pattern, their advantages, disadvantages, and pharmaceutical application. So if you keep all these pointers in a mind, so you can write a short note on tray dryer in a very systematic manner. Suppose question will be there for 3 marks or 4 marks. Give construction and working of tray dryer, or give detailed note on tray dryer or maybe the freeze dryer. So that kind of the questions will be generally asked in examination. So today we have taken this point for discussion. So if you see the book Subramanyam, so you will get all these images in that book, and same images I have copied over here for our discussion, so that on these pointers we will discuss individual dryer. So students, if you see this particular diagram, so this is assembly of tray dryer. So this particular portion, whatever we are talking, 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the trays. These are assembled in a one jacket or metal jacket, we can say. And these trays are surrounded with the heater, so that as dryers works on heat transfer as well as the mass transfer, so these heaters are there to provide the heat to all these trays. This is a air inlet is there and air outlet is there, and fan for cooling purpose is installed over here in tray dryer. So what is the exact principle of tray dryer? if you see the overall principle. So this is an example of what? This is example of which kind of the dryer? That is static bed, isn't it? In classification of dryer, we have seen this concept. So this dryer comes under static bed kind of dryer. And what happened in this particular dryer or in this process? There is a no relative moment among the solid particles being dried, and it is operated in batch process. Now, what is the meaning of batch process? There are two types. There is a batch and continuous. So batch process is what, you know? For example, you are loading the material or you are keeping the material in here, these trays at, for example, now it's 10:15. Then you will set the program for 2 hours, and after 2 hours you will remove all these materials for further evaluation. So this is called as a batch process. Again, at 12:15 you will put another sample over here for drying purpose. Then with the time hours, maybe after 2 hours, again you will remove that particular batch. So that kind of the mode is called as the batch process. So this tray dryer comes under batch process. And this type of dryer generally operates by passing hot air over the surface of wet solid that's sprayed over the trays arranged in a racks, and due to the forced convection, moisture is removed. So obviously heater is playing important role over here in overall construction of tray dryer. So clear what is the exact principle of tray dryer? You have to mention under which class this dryer we are going to discuss. So that's why this keyword I have written. Is it batch or continuous mode? We have mentioned it is a batch. And a roll of heater, and so obviously the heat is going to transfer over here, that is hot air over the surface of wet solid whatever we have sprayed over the trays, and due to the forced convection, moisture is removed. So obviously we can write one more terminology over here as a convection. This is a one method of heat transfer, isn't it? So this is about overall principle. Now construction, as you know, you are observing this particular diagram, so you can only give me the some points over here in construction, or in what way you will write the construction. For example, you will mention it consists of a chamber whose wall is insulated by a thick glass wool or a suitable heat insulating material. So this particular chamber we are considering over here. So this is a overall chamber, and wall of this particular chamber is with the glass wool kind of the material. And inside the chamber there are various trays on which wet materials are placed. So obviously these are the some trays available, and you can place the material uh, which you have to dry for the further process or evaluation. Then a number of trays depend on the size of a chamber. So maybe there are cost of this dryer depends on how much compartments are there. Maybe for example 4 compartments, 5 compartments, or 6 compartments. So based on that, this capacity of dryers will get varied. And for laboratory purpose, means if you see our laboratory, so we have also dryers. So minimum 3 trays are sufficient for the laboratory purpose. And there should be appropriate distance between the upper, middle, and lower tray. So the dryer is also attached to the provision of fresh air inlet and air outlet. As you are observing in this picture, this is a air inlet and this is a air outlet. Then the fan in dryer is used to circulate the air over the material placed in trays. So heater is also provided inside to facilitate the uniform heating. And the door of the heater is explosion proof and is locked with the help of spring loaded kind of ball latches with a suitable pressure, and door lips are having maybe neoprene rubber gasket to prevent the leakages. So that gasket generally, the refrigerator, isn't it? So when you will open the refrigerator and if you see the edges of the door, so that rubber gasket is there. So that gasket is also provided over here for this door opening of these dryers. For what purpose? To avoid the leakage and other things. So all these points you can mention in construction part. So these are the very easy points, and you can, if you know the diagram, so you can based on the diagram you can easily write the explanation of all the points. Then what is our third pointer? Our third pointer is about overall working. So in working, what we can say, what is the role of dryer? We have to dry the wet compound. So this wet material we are keeping, so the fashion for drying, that wet material are sprayed into the trays and placed into the chamber. The doors are closed, the air is introduced through the inlet and through heater is heated up. So hot air is circulated by fan over the tray, and there should be uniform airflow. Otherwise, if you are interrupting the airflow, that will affect your drying process, and we are not getting the proper results. So even baffles are used to distribute the air uniformly over the trays, and some moist air is continuously vented through the outlet. So the fresh air enters through the inlet, the water evaporates from the interior of the solid due to the hot air, and at the end, trays are removed from chamber and dried material is collected. So this is the overall working of this tray dryer. So roll of air inlet is there, roll of air outlet is there, the roll of fan, the roll of heater. So by considering all these points, we can easily mention about overall working of tray dryer. Then in advantages, what we can mention over here? Anyone? For example, I just give you some pointers. In advantages, we can see tray dryer is the most conventional dryer used very widely and still being used where the moisture content is more and where the product has to be dried at a low temperature for long hours. So this is the biggest advantage of this dryer, and it is a batch process and can also be used where quantity of material is somewhat less. And in the tray dryers, the handling of the material can be done without losses. Also the batch size in the pharmaceutical industry are relatively small, maybe around 250 kg or less per batch, compared with the chemical industry. Chemical industry requires more capacity of the dryers, around 1000 kg or more, and perhaps this particular dryer is not suitable then. Also, the valuable products can also be handled effectively in this tray dryer. Then in disadvantages, what we can say? Not suitable for oxidizable and thermolabile substances. So this is the biggest disadvantage of this dryer, basically the tray dryer. Not suitable for oxidizable and thermolabile. So obviously, if you are keeping thermolabile material in this dryer, so that stability will get lost, and we are not getting the product will become dry. But whatever the therapeutic property, or maybe the whatever the property we are looking, that gets degrade, or maybe that stability will get lost. So this kind of the dryers are not suitable for oxidizable compounds and thermolabile compounds. Also, the process takes long time for drying as it is a batch one, and obviously the process is expensive to operate in this case. So these 2 to 3 disadvantages we can write about this tray dryer. Then in pharmaceutical applications, we can say it is used in the drying of a sticky material, because when we are formulating any component, in pharma lab. So there are chances, or maybe many times we are getting sticky material. So obviously these materials we can easily get dry on this tray dryer, and it is used in the drying of the granular mass or crystalline materials as well. And plastic substances can be dried by the tray dryer. This is one of the application. Then wet mass preparations, or maybe the precipitates and pastes, can be dried in a tray dryer. Also, in the tray dryers, the crude drugs. So what is the meaning of crude drugs? In pharmacognosy, I think you have seen this terminology, crude drugs. For example, drug compounds which we are getting from plant as a source material, like gum is there, or maybe the acacia is there. So such kind of the compounds are called as a crude drugs, and these crude drugs we can easily dry with the help of a dryer. And we can add one more application over here, that maybe it is used for chemicals, powders and tablet granules, and these are also dried and shows the free flowing of the material by picking up the water. And sometime or maybe the some types of equipments can also be dried in the tray dryer. Now in case of laboratory, we are working or we are using various glasswares, like pipette is there, or maybe a beaker, funnel, isn't it? And if you have to dry after washing, if you have to dry it immediately for further experiment, so that such kind of the equipments we can easily dry on these tray dryers. So these are the some points we can always write about the tray dryer on these pointers. So clear what is the principle of tray dryer, construction, working, advantages, disadvantages and pharmaceutical applications. So in this way we have to take all the dryers for discussion purpose. So this is a tray dryer. So any doubt over here? If you have any doubt or maybe any problem, you can raise right now, so that your understanding will become more clear. And if no doubt,
Sir,
we can. Yes.
sir, um, sir, in advantages, you said it is widely used, then it is a batch process and can be used when amount is very much less, and valuable products can be handled effectively. What is
Yes.
the other point which I miss out?
Yes. Maybe we can batch process you mentioned. It can also use when
Hmm.
the quantity of material is less, or maybe batch size in the industry are relatively small, around 250 kg or less per batch, compared with the chemical industry that is around 1000 kg or more per hour. So this is just comparison we can add. So these 4 to 5 points are sufficient as advantage of these dryers.
Okay, sir. And in sir working, uh, I have written air is introduced through the inlet and hot air is circulated, which helps the substance to dry effectively. So, what is the role of
Correct.
fan?
This whatever the fan we are installing over here, that is for cooling purpose, especially uh, wet materials. Once you apply or once you spread the material on a trays into the chamber, you will air is introduced through the inlet, and through the heater air is heated up, and that hot air is circulated. Whatever the heat gets produced over here, uh, so because of the heater, so whatever the air gets circulate over here due to the heater, so the role of fan is to circulate that hot air over all these trays, isn't it? So once the hot air gets sprayed, so obviously whatever the moisture associated with this wet material, that gets removed, and that is a role of particularly fan. Are you getting this point? So whatever the hot air get generated over here, for circulation of that hot air through on this particular wet solid, for that purpose we are using the or installed the fan in a tray dryer. Clear this point?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
And so obviously, yeah, so obviously there should be the uniform airflow. Otherwise proper drying will not be achieved. Suppose if there is a not fan, so वो जो एयर आएगा, फॉर एग्जांपल यहाँ से अगर एयर का कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ज़्यादा है, so that air concentration will be here on this first two trays only. बट फैन के कारण क्या होता है, जो भी हीट प्रोड्यूस होता है दैट गेट सर्कुलेटेड यूनिफॉर्मली ओवर ऑल दिस ट्रेस. So that is a appropriate use of this fan. Got it? Then we will move on now on a second point that is called as a drum dryer, or maybe another word for drum dryer is about a roller dryer. If you talk about this drum dryer, so I just mention one name, that is a roller or roller dryer. So you just observe this diagram. What is your observation as compared to the tray dryer? You can easily point out some points in drum dryer, and then we will take it for discussion. You just observe this diagram. See, now in case of drum dryer, if you are writing the principal part, so the drum dryer is an equipment used to convert the solutions and suspensions into the solids. So whatever the solutions we are using, or maybe suspensions, so that solutions and suspensions can easily dry with the help of these dryers. Means these solutions or suspensions we can easily convert into the solid part, and the main purpose is to spread the liquid to a large surface area so that drying can occur rapidly. And obviously you know the role of surface area. This is not any new concept for you. जितना ज़्यादा सरफेस एरिया रहेगा उतना उसका कूलिंग जल्दी होगा. इधर इट ना, व्हेन वी आर टेकिंग एनी टी, आप चाय पीते हो सुबह, and if you are taking cup along with saucer, and if you pour that tea on a saucer, तो obviously क्या होगा, saucer में सरफेस एरिया बढ़ेगा तो उसका कूलिंग रेट ज़्यादा होगा, लाइक दैट. सो दैट इज द रोल ऑफ सरफेस एरिया. सो जितना आप ज़्यादा सरफेस एरिया दोगे ये पर्टिकुलर सॉल्यूशंस एंड सस्पेंशंस को, उतना उसका ड्राइंग बेटर होगा. And so this is a general principle of this drum dryer. And in construction you can easily say, for example, see, this is a liquid film is there, this is a spreader is available, then whatever the material we have to dry, that is the liquid or maybe the slurry feed we are feeding, or this is a reservoir we can say. Then this is a dried material, then this is a knife for cutting purpose, this is a dried film, this is a heated drum. And see the overall assembly of this. So we can add points over here. Overall assembly of drum dryer, that it consists of a hollow steel drum of about maybe around 1.5 to 2 meter in a diameter, and 2 to 4 meter in a length. So whatever the drum we are using, isn't it? So this drum, it is heated internally, usually by steam, and rotated on its longitudinal axis. So this drum we can easily heat it with the help of steam over here. So I just write one word as a steam, and this is rotated on its longitudinal axis, and external surface of drum is generally polished, whatever assembly is there, and liquid or slurry is placed as a feed in a pan. So this is a pan or maybe the reservoir, in which we are keeping our liquid or maybe solution part or maybe the suspension part, which we have to dry. And the drum is partially dipped in pan. So if you see the overall setup in this diagram, this is not a three-dimensional diagram, but if you see that this drum is partially dipped in this liquid or slurry feed, and or any other point you can add over here just by observing this particular diagram, that maybe the spreader is used to spread the liquid film evenly in a roller. So that is the role of this particular spreader. So whatever the liquid we are taking, so spreader makes help of proper what we can say the layer. So when we are using bread आप खाते हो, isn't it? And when we are taking cheese spreader, तो चीज जब आप स्प्रेड करते हो, तो you are trying to make it spread on overall bread, isn't it? So for that purpose, we are using a spreader or maybe the spoon we are using at home. So in a similar way, that assembly is there, spreader. So whatever the liquid or slurry is there, that gets easily spread on this roller or maybe the drum. And yes, one more point we can add over here in a construction part, that the rotation of a drum is adjusted so that all of the liquid is fully vaporized and the drum is rotated continuously, and the dried deposit or a material can be scraped out with the help of knife, and the dried material is collected in a storage bin. तो जैसे जैसे ये घूमेगा ड्रम, so obviously with the help of the steam, this liquid or maybe the slurry that gets from the solid film. So at a particular level, one knife we can use over here or maybe the cutter we can say, so that we can easily cut that particular solid part and we can collect this dried material in any particular bag. And this is the overall working or maybe the what we can say construction of a drum dryer. That is easy अगर आप diagram याद रखोगे. So if you see the overall constructions, so you can write all these points in a very systematic manner. So this is overall construction, and then working में that is the same thing. As drum rotates, the liquid material get adhered to the external surface of the drum. Liquid is sprayed as a film onto the surface, and the drying of the material is done by the process of steam when passed into the drum. So that's why I have written just one word over here as a steam. With the help of the steam, that gets dry, and by the mechanism of the conduction, the heat gets transferred into the drum and the drying process takes place. So here in a tray dryer we have used convection. Now here we can write terminology as a conduction. So these are the keywords that we have to keep in mind while writing answer of this particular description of the drum dryer. And the material is completely dried during the whole process during its revolutions, and the dried material is scraped by the knife and that falls into the any container or maybe into the bin. So these are the points that we will mention as a working pattern of this drum dryer. And in advantages, as you can write as per your choice based on overall construction and working. So you can so I'm sure these are the points that are getting pop-ups in your mind, that suppose while writing advantages we can always say drying takes place in a less time, or maybe it is suitable for thermosensitive drugs, isn't it? जो कि ट्रे ड्रायर थर्मो लेबल कंपाउंड्स के लिए नहीं था, तो यहाँ पे हम लोग लिख सकते हैं एडवांटेज में, that is a thermosensitive material we can easily dry on a this particular kind of the dryers. And obviously it occupies the less space, and in order to reduce the temperature of drying, the drum can be enclosed in a vacuum chamber, not needed, but if you have to reduce the temperature of drying, so we can use vacuum over here. So that is also the one of the advantage we can quote over here. And rapid drying takes place due to the rapid heat and mass transfer. So in all the dryers, suppose if you are using these terminologies, heat and mass transfer, because that is the basic mechanism of drying, isn't it? So in all the dryers, this kind of the concept is getting involved. तो ये रजिस्टर कर लो आपके माइंड में ये वर्ड्स, हीट एंड मास ट्रांसफर. So you can write these words in any kind of the dryer description. So rapid drying takes place due to rapid heat and mass transfer. And then in disadvantages, we can quote that maintenance cost is high of such kind of the dryers. And as compared to tray dryer, here the skilled operators are essential for to control the thickness of the film, because whether proper setting we have to do, whether we have to take 1 mm thickness or maybe the 2 mm thickness. So maybe operator is required to run such kind of the dryers, and it is not suitable for less solubility products. So this may be the disadvantage that we can overcome in any other dryer. Also, the operating conditions are critical. Therefore, it is necessary to introduce the careful control on a feed rate. Then there is a film thickness or maybe speed of drum rotation and drum temperature. So, if you see the overall optimization parameters of these drum dryers, so these are the we have to optimize during operation. What we can optimize, we can control the feed rate, then film thickness is there that we can control, and spread of drum rotation and the drum temperature. And obviously in pharmaceutical applications we can quote drum dryer is used for drying of solutions, then slurries, and then suspensions. So this is a main role of drum dryer. And milk products are there, or starch products, or like maybe the ferrous salts components, or suspensions of zinc oxide, suspensions of the kaolin. In pharmaceutical inorganic chemistry, all these compounds you have seen, isn't it? Suspensions of the kaolin, then suspensions of the zinc oxide, antibiotics, glandular extracts, or calcium and barium carbonates. All these compounds we can easily dried on this drum dryer. So clear this particular part about drum dryer as well. So drum dryer, again, just give a thought or just have some exploration on these pointers. Principle is clear to you, whether construction is clear, working, advantages, disadvantages, and pharmaceutical applications. So I think these are very easy parts to understand. So there is not that much complexity to understand these particular points. Then moving further, next we will talk about third dryer, and then we will stop today for this particular session. So spray dryer. So again, I will you can check this diagram as a spray dryer, and you can do the practice of all these drawings, because in examinations questions will be there. Write a short note on spray dryer. So obviously you have to draw this spray dryer. Just try to practice all these things. So in a spray dryer, just observe this diagram and see or try to understand the role of individual components, like drying chamber is there, air inlet, liquid feed, atomizer is there, then vapor is there, cyclone separator is there, and the dry product we are getting. So just observe these things, and then we will take up this point based on our discussion. So in spray dryer, what will be the principle of spray dryer. If you see the spray dryer principle, it provides a large surface for the heat and mass transfer, isn't it? So you are getting large space for drying purpose. And in previous session we have seen, जितना आप ज़्यादा स्पेस दोगे उतना उसका ड्राइंग अच्छा होगा. एंड विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस एटोमाइजर्स, जो यहाँ पे एटोमाइजर आपको दिख रहा है, so this is atomizer that provides the large space for drying purpose. So for by atomizing the liquid into the small droplets, and these are sprayed in a stream of hot air so that each drop dries to get a solid particles, isn't it? Working में आपको ज़्यादा समझ में आएगा. For example, this is atomizer, and when we are steaming it, or when we are passing the liquid in this atomizer, so obviously small droplets will get generated, and these small droplets get a lot of area for drying purpose with the help of this air whatever we are passing, and this is a liquid feed, isn't it? So in the principle we can mention that spray dryer provides a large surface for the heat and mass transfer by atomizing the liquid into the small droplets, and these are sprayed in a stream of hot air so that each drop dries to get a solid particles. So these are the points we can mention in a principle of spray dryer. Then in construction we can see it consists of a drying chamber have a conical base, isn't it? If you see the conical flask, so this is a conical shape, this is a drying chamber. Then it is made up of stainless steel. The inlet for hot air is also provided at the bottom, and another inlet for a spray disc atomizer at the top. If you see, these are the air inlets, isn't it? And this is another inlet, liquid feed at the top. So if you see the overall role of all these two inlets, so at the bottom side whatever we are getting, and another inlet for the spray disc atomizer at the top we are getting. So atomization may be achieved by means of single fluid or two fluid nozzles. So now here we have separate dryers are available, configurations are different. जैसे कि सिंगल सिम का मोबाइल होता है, डबल सिम का मोबाइल होता है, isn't it? In mobile also we are getting lot of configurations. So on a similar way, here one single atomizer is there, or maybe some dryers are available with the two atomizers or three atomizers. So based on that, cost will vary. So we can mention like that atomization may be achieved by means of single fluid or a two fluid nozzles, and the drying chamber is connected to cyclone separator. So this is the cyclone separator. So this is the drying chamber and this is a cyclone separator. So these are connected with each other. Then dry product is collected from the bottom of the cyclone separator. So here we are getting the dry product here at the bottom. And in case of working, we can say the spray drying process can be divided into four sections, or maybe we can categorize it. For example, first part is about atomization. So atomization of what? Atomization of the fluid. So we have to dry. Second part is about mixing of the droplets. Then third part is about drying. And fourth part is about removal and collection. or what we can say, maybe dry products. These are the four types, or maybe we can uh, write it in a very systematic way, overall working of these dryers. So first atomization of the fluid happens over here, then mixing of the droplets with the heat, then drying is the process, and fourth point, removal and collection, isn't it, of dry products through this cyclone separator over here. So these are the working pattern of this spray dryer. So we can mention over here, the feed entered the drying chamber through the atomizer, and the jet atomizer and rotary atomizer are used. Again, configurations are there, so either we can use jet atomizer or rotary atomizer. Then the jet atomizer get easily blocked, resulting in variation of the droplet size, whereas rotary atomizer are preferred to avoid this particular problem. Then hot air passes through the inlet, and the air temperature should be adjusted in a such a way that the droplet dries completely before reaching the wall of the drying chamber. And residence time of a droplet in the dryer is only a few seconds. Maybe see, if you are talking about the residence time, it is hardly 5 to 30 seconds. See the efficiency of this dryer, 5 to 30 seconds only. And the particles should not be overheated. Also, the bottom of drying chamber is connected to the cyclone separator. So what is the role of cyclone separator anyway? The cyclone separator, that is the centrifugal force throughout the dried particles to the bottom, and dried particles are collected in a bin. So that provides the centrifugal force for all the dried particles, so that it will be collected on a bin without wasting of our material. And the vapors are removed from the top in this particular, see, if you see the cyclone separator, so vapors are getting removed here at the top. So these are the points that we can mention over here as a working of this spray dryer. Clear this particular point? Any doubt over here? So that we will take advantages, disadvantages, and pharmaceutical applications, and then we will stop. So in advantages, we can say the process of drying completes within. Yes, please. Any doubt?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Bolo bolo.
in the drying chamber, the surface of the drying chamber is in contact with the air only. No, not a single droplet is in contact with the drying chamber because it is in the between the space of the drying chamber.
Yes.
Okay. And in the cyclone separator, how it is centrifugal? It is only the principle that the vapor is light and the dry products are heavier. The dry product will fall down and the vapor will burn off from the above.
Yes, means here role of cyclone separator, vapor gets removed, and whatever the drying particles are there, or whatever the process happens over here, so we are getting the dry products over here, and that will not stick to the wall of this material or to this chamber anywhere, and that will directly go over here as a dry product without wasting on the, that will not stick on these walls. So that is the main role of cyclone separator.
No, so how centrifugal
you know the bottom
centrifugal
of
force?
this, yeah, the bottom of drying chamber, if you are observing in this diagram, so this is the bottom of this drying chamber. It is connected to this cyclone separator, isn't it? So in cyclone separator, the basic mechanism, or maybe the basic, what we can say, the key thing happens, that is the centrifugal force throughout the dried particles to the bottom, and dried particles are collected in our storage or maybe in our reservoir, and the vapors are generally removed from the top of this cyclone separator. This is a actual working of this spray dryer. The role of this is just throughout, or maybe whatever the dried particles are there that are directly comes towards here at the bottom. यहाँ पे वो आजू बाजू में स्टिक नहीं होते, एंड जो वेपर्स है वो इजीली you can remove from this particular outlet. Clear, Kunj, now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, or also refer whatever the Subramaniam book, na, again a lot of description they have given, so still if you have any doubt, so go through that as well. So I can also go on that particular points and try to explain exactly perfect role of this cyclone separator. As per my understanding, the role of cyclone separator is to act, or just with the help of the centrifugal force, that is that throughout the dried particles to the bottom, and dried particles are collected in our reservoir, whatever we are wherever we are collecting the same, and the vapors are removed from the top. So in advantages, we can always mention the process of drying generally completes within 3 to 30 seconds. Then less labor cost required as it is a continuous process. Then uniform and controlled size product can be obtained. Also, the product obtained has a high bulk density and show excellent solubility, whatever the outcome we are getting, and the solutions or suspensions can be dried easily, and it is suitable for the drying of the sterile products as well. Sterile products जो भी हम लोग parenteral में use करते हैं, IV injections and all those things, so for that purpose also this is suitable. Then in disadvantages, the spray dryer is expensive one, difficult to operate, and we can say the thermal efficiency is low, as much heat is lost in the discharge gases. So obviously we can write application part as well. Spray dryer can be used for drying both solutions or suspensions. Then a spray dryer are very useful for the drying of heat sensitive substances. Also citric acid, borax, sodium phosphate, gelatin, such kind of the compounds are dried. Milk, then soap and detergents, they are also dried by the spray dryer. The spray dryer also used compulsorily if the quantity of the material to be dried is a large and the product is hygroscopic or undergoes the chemical decomposition. So all these products, or maybe whatever our daily course or our products we are using, like coffee extract is there, dextran, or maybe the fruit juices, or ferrous sulfate powder, pepsin, plasma, serum, all these products are dried using the spray dryer, isn't it? Like that boric acid, calcium sulfate, then acacia, adrenaline, vitamins, sulfur, starch. So all these products, a lot of applications we can quote over here as a spray dryer. So I think it's clear to all of you. Today we have discussed about spray dryer, then drum dryer, and tray dryer. And on which pointers we have discussed all these three dryers on principle, construction, working, advantages, disadvantages, and pharmaceutical applications. So I think we should stop over here, and in next session we will cover the next dryers.